Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to Mind the Mental Monday on this election eve. Um, I hope that everybody, like I said a couple weeks ago, or maybe was it last week? No, it wasn't last week, because last week I was talking about intentional laughter. But 2 weeks ago, I think I talked about the election. So it is now election eve, and hopefully everyone has gotten either you've already voted or you are have made a plan to get out and vote tomorrow. I hope that everybody is doing well. I hope that you are taking care of your mental health as we are, going through this election process. And then all the things, hence the title of tonight's Mind the Mental Monday. So I'm going to give it just a minute. I hope that people will be joining soon and will tune in. Um, as always, let's start out by just putting in the chat one. If you want to share this, have you voted? And what state did you vote in? And then the other thing is, how are you doing? How are you? Like, how are you doing mentally on a scale from 1 to 5, with 1 being terrible and 5 being, I'm doing great. Where are you on that scale today? And, if you're at a 1, then, and you desire to move that up to like a 2 or 3, what is something in your mental health toolbox that you can use to push you there? And what is your plan to be intentional about it? That the point of Mind the Mental Mondays is to really be a reminder to all of us of the need to be intentional about taking care of our mental health. So I hope that everybody is doing that. Uh, Tonight, the reason that I titled this "Minding the Mental Through All the Things" is that it feels like we are literally going through all the things collectively. And that's just collectively, right? That's not even just as a not counting the things that we might be going through individually and independent of the things that we're going through collectively as a nation. And, you know, I know that, a lot of people are really kind of tired of the election. I'm one of them too. Like I'm with everybody that's like, okay, let's get it done already. For me, it's like, yes, let's get Kamala in, Vice President Harris. Let me put some respect on her name. Um, let's get her in already. Let's do this and get it done. But we know that even when she gets in, I'm just I'm speaking life to that thing. When she gets in, we know that there will be challenges. We know that there are people out here who are, looking for violence and all that kind of thing. And because we know that these things, it really impacts our collective mental health. It impacts our collective mental health as a nation, in households, in families, where some of these things have literally like divided families based on who somebody is voting for. It's just gotten, just that extreme. And I really hope that we can get back to a place where we could disagree with each other. We could disagree about policies. We can disagree about the way certain things are run. But at the end of the day, that we can be adults and that we can have conversations and that we can meet somewhere in the middle and keep things moving forward, right? Going backwards is not an option, period. So we must move forward for not only ourselves, but for the next generation. I'm doing it for my grandchildren at this point. I want their world to be better than the world that I grew up in, right? And so that's why we do all of these things, and that's why we participate in this process, the election process. But in the process, there's just a lot. It's a lot for all of us to sort of deal with. And we don't always handle it in the best way. And so, one of the reasons that I wanted to just talk about this and talk about how minding the mental and all the things is that even for myself, like today, um, I was watching the news, and as I was watching it, like my heart was just racing. It's like I was having an anxiety attack. And I know I'm not by myself. Like I know I'm not the only one. And so it's why I'm always suggesting that we pull back from that. Like we, sort of give our brains a break from the news, the 24-hour news cycle, and that we, try to occupy our minds with other things. So as I was sort of studying today, looking at scripture, the scripture in so I often use the YouVersion Bible app because you can get so many different biblical translations in one place. So I really love it. I use it a lot, and many of you who, if you use it, that on a daily basis they have they have like a scripture of the day that's there, and then somebody speaks on it, and then there's a prayer that goes along with it. And today's scripture was Philippians 4 and 8, which I think is always important. It's a really key for me. It's a really key mental health scripture, Philippians 4 and 8, which says, "Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent and praiseworthy, think about such things." So it's really important for us in our daily mental health journey to intentionally think about things that are positive, to sort of change our mindset from a negative mindset to one that is more positive. And we can do this. We can have control over our thoughts, but we have to be intentional about doing it. And so um, one of the things I think I've talked about before is that when you have a negative thought, in order to change the trajectory of that thought, you not only need to remove the thought, but then you need to replace the thought with something else. You can't just say, okay, I'm just not going to think about this. You have to say, okay, instead of thinking about this, I'm going to think about this. So instead of saying I'm tired of the election process, you know, then think about it as I'm grateful that I get to exercise this right. Do you see how it shifts your mind, your thinking? Like I get to participate in a process, and for people of color, for women, this is a process that we were intentionally left out of originally, right? That we now have. And so we get to exercise this right. We get to have a say in who our elected officials are. We get to then, once we do that, we get to then be their boss. So we also it's not good enough to sit around and be like, oh, they're not doing this. Well, instead of saying what they're not doing, say, well, here's what I'm going to do to voice my opinion about what should be done. I'm going to contact my representative. I'm going to blow up his or her phone to let them know, and I'm going to get others to join in with me to try to make some changes that might need to be made. So this is a way of just shifting your mindset from a negative to a positive. And so with all that's going on, so we talked about the election, like, Quincy Jones passed away. Like it seemed like a lot of just people in the culture have in just the last few months, have passed away, which causes a sort of collective grief. And so, and so in the midst of all the election stuff, and then grieving not only people who are like entertainers or celebrities that a lot of people know, but also within our own families, we may have lost loved ones. The holidays are coming up, which for a lot of people are really hard to deal with. We just, moved back. We just fell back, right? We just left daylight savings time, and we kind of moved back to regular time. And this is a time of year where a lot of people, there's a lot of depression that happens this time of year when it gets dark early, when the majority of the day is in darkness. There's an actual condition called SAD that a lot of people have. It is a real condition. And so this time of year, I think in particular, is just it's always sort of a rough time of year for a lot of people. And so there's with all of these things, it's important for us to think about ways that we can change our thinking from what's bad or what's wrong or what's going wrong to what can we, here's what I'm going to do to help to try to change it. Here's what I'm going to do to help to leave a legacy for the next generation. Here's what I'm going to do. These are the people that I'm going to work with to try to exact some kind of positive change in this world. So I know that there's a lot going on. I know that it's a lot of collective grief. There's a lot of collective anxiety. There's a lot of collective heart palpitations that are happening in this world, but we can make a difference. And that can help us when we tell ourselves that, when we believe that about ourselves, we can help to exact some change that will cause us to be able to breathe deeply and to say, listen, it doesn't have to be all bad. It doesn't have to be all negative. We can do some things to make life better for not for ourselves and better for the upcoming generation. So, um, so some things that we can do, as I said before, one is to change our focus from a negative focus to a positive focus. So, regardless of who wins this election, which I'm speaking President Kamala Harris. I'm just gonna speak it, not just because she's my soror, Skiwi, but because she by far is the only qualified candidate that's in the race, period. Uh, and so I'm going to think positive, and I'm also going to think that, you know, that when she gets in, because there's going to be so much going on, so much vitriol, because she is a woman, because she is a Black woman, that we're going to have to all come together and united to take stands against any kind of vitriol that might come our way. We have to be prepared. We have to be mindful. We have to be aware of our surroundings and aware of the people in our surroundings, and then not everybody has, best intentions for us. So all of that, we have to be aware of, but we can shift our mindset to say, you know what? I'm going to speak life. I'm going to do my part to make sure that not only am I going to try to get the top person in, but the down ballot people that can help her when she gets in to run things smoothly, to get across, to get those things in her agenda passed and done. We need the Senate, we need the Congress, right? She can't just do it by herself, right? So we all have to be engaged in the process. But I think a positive thing is knowing that in being engaged in the process, that we can make a change. Like we can make a difference. We do have that power within us. And that is something, rather than thinking doom and gloom and, oh, voting doesn't matter and all of that. No, it does matter because think about it. Why are so many people trying to take it away from people if it didn't? So, know that we can be engaged and that we can make a change if we engage in the process. So, another thing that we can do and that you hear all the time, um, to mind our mental through all the things is we have to take care of our physical bodies. That means we need to exercise. That means we need to eat healthy foods, because what we eat, what we put into our bodies, how we treat our bodies has a direct impact on our mental health. And our minds also has a direct impact on our physical health. It's holistic. It all comes together. It all operates together. It is one unit. Health is health. Mental health is health. A lot of times people think about mental illness, but they don't think about mental health. That's another mind shift. It's not just about mental illness. The sort of whenever I do workshops on mental health, and I ask the audience the question, what comes to mind? Like, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of mental health? And very often, all the answers that they come up with, or at least most of them, are not really mental health, but it's mental illness. They come up with things like depression and anxiety and schizophrenia and bipolar, which are mental health conditions. Um, but mental health is taking care of your mind. What are you thinking? What are you putting in your mind? What are you allowing your mind to consume? What are you ingesting in your mind? Just like when you ingest certain foods that don't cooperate with your body. So for me, for example, like I'm lactose intolerant, like a lot of people are now. If I decide then I'm going to go ahead and eat some ice cream with lactose in it. I usually 9 times out of 10, depending on what kind of ice cream it is, what brand and where it's from and so forth, 9 chances out of 10, my body is not gonna like it and it's not gonna handle it well, right? It's the same thing with our minds and with what we allow our minds to consume. Because what happens is the reason that it's important to sometimes take a break from social media, take a break from news, and all of those things is that a lot of times it's not just that we're ingesting certain things, it's that we're ruminating on them, which means that we're thinking about them over and over and over again to a point where it sort of takes over our thought process, it takes over our minds. And so that's when a good time to go back to Philippians 4 and 8 and look at the things that we should think on, things that are noble, things that are true, things that are trustworthy, things that are pure. These are things that we should intentionally think on so that our minds can be free from all the noise and the mess and the nonsense. Hopefully, I'm making sense to you all. Thank you all for joining Mind the Mental tonight, and it's good to have you here. So one, change your focus from a negative to a positive. Two, exercise, eat healthy foods, think about what you're ingesting, not only physically but mentally. Um, and then affirmations. Affirmations are also very helpful. To repeat things, positive things to yourself and about your circumstances, about your situation. Um, to speak those things even that are not as though they were. That's another scripture. Um, as I'm speaking President Kamala Harris. Um, so make sure that you sort of think on these things. And then also don't get so consumed by things that you can't change, right? Things that you don't have the power to change. Because if you get consumed by those things, what's the point, right? So change what you can change, right? Do the things that you that's within your power to do to make the changes that you need to make to have a better mental health outcome on a daily basis. When you get caught up, a lot of times we sort of get caught up in what other people are doing, what other people are saying that's, upsetting us. And we can't change what other people do or say. We just can't. Like we don't have the power over anybody else to change anything about other people. But what we do have the power to do is to regulate how we respond to those other people. We have the power within ourselves to regulate ourselves, and how we might move on from certain situations. We have the power to control ourselves. And so focus on that rather than focusing on, if somebody is bringing foolishness to you and, or if even if it's just something that you just don't agree with. Okay, you know, if they're coming at you some kind of way, you can deal with how you respond. That is what you have the power to do. And so operate in that and from that perspective, because that person is going to deal with themselves the way that they need to deal with themselves. But you don't have to sort of sit around and just ingest their stuff. You don't have to sit around and be a garbage can for anybody else. So, so this is another example. If you have somebody that's coming and just, how you have certain people that the only time they call you is to like bring you mess, just to bring you stuff. And then you find yourself getting worn out and wearied because of some mess that somebody else has brought. You're not somebody else's garbage can. So when they come bringing you that stuff, like immediately shut it down. Just end the conversation. Either shift the conversation to something that's positive or just say, listen, I don't have the capacity and I not nor do I want the capacity to ingest your junk. So I'm gonna have to have this conversation is gonna have to get cut short and I'm moving on from it. And sometimes it just has to be that way because when you ingest other people's stuff, it doesn't only impact your mental health. Sometimes it also impacts your physical health because now their anxiety is now yours, or their situation and what they have going on is now on your it's now a weight that you're also now carrying. And so sometimes you have to drop that weight and move it move yourself um on. That's not to say to not like listen to people like if they need help or if somebody needs a listening ear. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying when people are like bringing you just mess, and y'all know what that is. Just talking about other people, being negative about other people and that sort of thing. Like that's the garbage I'm talking about. You don't have to sit there and be their garbage can. So, all right. So I just want to encourage us to take those small steps that we need to take to make sure that we are being intentional about taking care of our mental health on a daily basis, especially through all the things that we have going on, both collectively and probably individually. There's a lot of anxiety, again, around the election. There's a lot of grief around deaths that have been occurring. There is a lot of, even grief, and loss around the holidays that are coming up. It's a lot. And so, it kind of feels like we all just need to take like a collective sigh, right? And check on your strong people, check on the people who seem to have it all together, who seem to be the strongest, those people that you're always going to unload. Check on those people. Check on people, your family, your friends who have lost loved ones um, in recent years. Check on them with this upcoming holiday season. Be proactive about checking on them, and just hold them closer. Hold a space close to your heart for them as we move through the entire holiday season from Thanksgiving all the way through the new year and beyond, right? Because that grief doesn't just stop after the holidays end, but people are thinking about their loved ones all the time. So just be intentional to check on those people that are closest to you, um, and those people who tend to be the strong ones. I'm gonna put those in air quotes, the strong ones in your family or in your friend group. Um, so I know tonight probably sounded a bit a bit rambly, and it's why I titled it "Minding the Mental Through All the Things" because we're going through a lot. It's a lot. There's just a lot going on. And sometimes uh, we're so focused on all the things um, that we forget to check on ourselves and on the people that are closest to us. Sometimes all the things kind of takes the place of stepping back, pausing, taking some time to just stop, um, and just really think on intentionally. Philippians 4 and 8, think on things that are good. Like, there's a lot of negative going on, but there's also a lot of good going on. What are those things? Like, ruminate on those, in not only in the world, but just in your personal life. Think about those things, that are good, that are pure, that are trustworthy. What are those things in your life? Be intentional about thinking on those things. And then not only that, but share, share those good things with somebody else. Don't just keep it to yourself. Like, share something positive. And just as you go along throughout your day, doesn't have to be somebody you know. It could be a complete stranger. Give a compliment to a complete stranger and just watch how it brightens their countenance. Everybody needs, you don't have to give a literal hug. You can give a verbal hug to somebody just by smiling. It's like giving them a smile in a world where everybody is frowning and upset about one thing or another. Um, saying something nice to somebody, it doesn't just help them, but it helps you too because you feel good. By making somebody else feel good about themselves, it makes you feel good too. So share it, share the love with somebody else. The last thing I'm going to say um, is be aware of what's going on in the world and in your community and in the places that you travel. Be aware of things that are happening, but don't be consumed by them. So, yeah, we have an election coming tomorrow. Be aware of it, participate in it, but don't be consumed by it. because in the end, um, you know, we those of us who are people of faith know that in the end we're gonna be all right. All right. So I want to end on that on a positive note that listen, we're gonna be all right. Uh and I just trust and believe that that is all gonna work out. And we will grow, and we will leave positive legacies for the next generation and generations to come, just like we're done for us. We're going to now do it for the next generation. So I want you all to think on some good things, think on positive things, um, share good news with somebody, compliment somebody, spread some love wherever you go, um, and just, be aware, but don't be consumed, um, and know it's going to be all right. All right, so that's it. That's all I got tonight. You know, make sure you're minding the mental through all the things, and no, be confident that, regardless of whatever is going on, that it's going, in the end, it's going to be all right. All right. So God bless everyone. I'm wishing everyone a blessed night, and I'll see you next week, next Monday. By next Monday, we'll know the outcome and of said election, and we will we will see what we're going to be dealing with. Just remember to be intentional every day to mind the mental. Take care of your mental health. Mental health is health, and it is holistic in caring for your mind, your body, and your spirit. God bless everybody and have a blessed night. Night.